On this week's episode of Bridgette Unfiltered, we're going back to 1986, the year the adult film world was rocked by the revelation that one of its biggest stars, Traci Lords, had been living a lie. Overnight, the industry faced FBI raids, destroyed careers, and the threat of collapse was right in their face. Thank you for joining me today. My name is Bridgette B, and if you're a recurring listener, welcome back. But if you're new, feel free to binge listen all past episodes and join the conversation. Today's episode is going to sound a little different. Normally, we dive into relationship, culture, media, my perspective, and what I've gone through. But this week, it's about two worlds colliding: entertainment and accountability. When the Traci Lords case broke, it wasn't just industry insiders paying attention. It was the FBI, politicians, and every major newspaper in the country. The scandal became a pinpoint. It forced people in the industry and out to confront uncomfortable questions about responsibility and regulation. Now, settle in and allow me to introduce to you Traci Lords. Who was Traci Lords? Because to understand the weight of this story, you have to understand the person at the center of it. Traci Lords was born Nora Louise Kuzma in 1968 in Steubenville, Ohio, a working-class town along the Ohio River. It was a place built on steel mills and small-town life, far away from the bright lights of Los Angeles. By most accounts, Nora's childhood was sadly unstable. Her parents divorced, and her early years were just marked by instability and restlessness. Those experiences just seemed to give her both resilience and this undeniable drive to reinvent herself. In her teens, she moved with her mom and sis to California. Suddenly, she was in the land of surfing and Hollywood and, of course, the beautiful endless sun we all love of Cali. It was a world that just couldn't have been more different than Ohio. California was where Nora became Traci. The name was bold, glamorous, unforgettable. It was her way of writing a new story for herself. And the world? The world was about to take notice. On screen, Traci Lords had such a presence, and it set her apart. She had platinum blonde hair, porcelain skin, striking eyes that just carried this innocence and intensity all at the same time. Quite actually reminds me of Pamela Anderson when she started. She was exactly the same, that just innocent and those eyes, just beautiful. She was magnetic, the kind of performer who could capture the attention the moment she entered into frame. Her charisma wasn't just about looks. It was about confidence. Because even at a young age, Traci projected an energy that made audiences believe she was a star. Off screen, she was described by peers as, quote, funny, sharp, and determined. She had ambition that went beyond just making a name for herself. She wanted reinvention. She wanted transformation. And she wasn't afraid to take the bold step to get there. That determination is part of what made her career rise so fast, and also what made her downfall hit so hard. So when we do talk about this scandal and the woman in it, Traci Lords, it's not just a legal case. It's a story of the young woman from Steubenville, Ohio, who stepped into Hollywood with her beauty, charisma, and a drive that I can relate to very much, and whose choice of deceiving others created one of the most notorious scandals the industry has ever faced. Keep that image in your mind as we move forward. the girl from Steubenville, Ohio, who reinvented herself into a superstar, and in doing so, changed the course of an entire business. The adult film industry in the early 1980s was booming. VHS tapes were in almost every household, and the rise of home video made adult entertainment even more accessible and more profitable than ever before. Studios were pumping out films quickly, performers were gaining celebrity status, and the government was watching closely. This was the Reagan era, the decade of family values, politics, and the so-called moral majority. The adult industry was often painted as this villain, but in reality, it was thriving, with stars earning name recognition far beyond adult audience. Amid this scene was a young performer named Traci Lords, who skyrocketed to fame. She had the look, the charisma, the screen presence that made her the household name she was. And in broader pop culture, she was even a guest star in one of the best shows ever made, Married with Children, starring Ed O'Neill from Modern Family. If you haven't seen, you must go back to the archives of, I think it's Peacock or Hulu or even Amazon Prime, and watch Married with Children. I think it didn't get its flowers because they didn't even get a proper finale. But that show introduced the world to Pamela Anderson as well as Traci Lords. But behind the rising star power of Traci, there was a secret that would soon explode into one of the biggest scandals in entertainment history. In July of 1986, major newspapers like the Los Angeles Times, the Washington Post, and the New York Times broke the story that nearly every film she had appeared in was illegal to distribute because Traci was, in fact, underage during the majority of her career. The headlines were blunt, and the headlines were sensational. Porn star, underage, FBI investigates adult industry and X-rated films seized nationwide. Almost overnight, the FBI raided distributors. Tapes were pulled from video store shelves, and the entire adult film business was thrust under a spotlight of criminal liability. What had seemed like the meteoric rise of a new icon was now being retold as a cultural and legal crisis that forced the public, the press, and politicians to question, how could this have happened in the first place? To put it into perspective, nearly the entire 1980s catalog of adult VHS tapes that featured Lords instantly became contraband. No, can't. Throwing it out. Stores rushed to pull titles from their shelves, distributors trying to destroy these tapes as quickly as possible, and the entire production company that shot her, or companies really, worried that they would be shut down. And the politicians seized the moment. They loved it. Headlines screaming. And within days, the scandal wasn't just a niche of news in adult industry. Oh no, it went mainstream news. It appeared on all the front pages and the TV broadcasts across America. Quick break in the story. If you're enjoying today's episode, make sure you're following along with me on Instagram at Bridgette Unfiltered for behind the scenes content and updates. And don't forget, you can dive deeper into topics like this one over on my blog at www.bridgetteunfiltered.com. I'll leave all the links for you right in the episode description so they're easy to find. All right, let's get back into it. What happened next would forever alter the industry. The legal system faced a dilemma. Most of the studios and producers who had worked with Traci had not known her real age. Why? Because Traci Lords had used false IDs. And on paper, everything seemed fine. For most of us, I'm sure listening, have gone through a situation. Let's just say you're at a bar, ladies. You're at a bar or a restaurant, A guy comes up to you and starts talking to you in your ear and saying how beautiful you are and how he would love to take you out on a date. And you say, okay, you give him your number, but he's married. But you didn't know that because not only did he not tell you, but he wasn't wearing a wedding ring. What are we going to do? Walk around assuming everyone's married? At this point, might as well. So prosecutors realized that there was no easy way to convict the industry players, like the distributors, the studios, the directors, without acknowledging where the source of this deception came from. In the end, Traci Lords herself avoided prosecution. The government focused its energy towards the structural failure of the adult industry, its lack of regulation, and the ease with which false IDs could be used to bypass age verification. The result was a sweeping crackdown. The scandal directly led to stricter federal laws requiring detailed record keeping and age verification for all performers. Quote brought to you by NewYorkTimes.com archive. To this day, adult producers in the United States must comply with what's known as 2257 regulations, a direct outcome from this scandal. The industry was permanently reshaped. Studios became more cautious, mainstream crossover opportunities for adult stars dried up, and the stigma around the business grew even heavier. For those of you who have been listening to the show since inception, can possibly understand now why I chose to discuss this scandal. It's obvious that the underlying theme of this scandal has based really why even I decided to enter the adult industry in the beginning. Because when I entered I was 27, so about 12 years ago, I was pleasantly surprised by how direct and forward the industry was with age verification being the number one necessity. The basics of being on set, not being able to even step foot in the makeup chair without first signing such 2257 regulation contract that we all have is the reason why I said, okay, this is something I can do because I'm an adult. Whatever I choose to do at the moment is my own doing. It's no one's business. And I can rock with this. Which was also one of the reasons why I stopped performing a couple of years ago, because the industry had taken a change. The industry had taken a change from studio forward work to an industry finding alternative ways to create content without physically being on a set that required such discipline, such preparedness, and such passion for something that most don't take as seriously. But for some of us, like myself, we did take it seriously. I come from the mindset that everything you do it well, regardless, and put your best foot forward. This case wasn't just a legal scandal. It was a cultural moment. For years afterward, the name Traci Lords was synonymous with the dangers of the adult industry. Tabloids sensationalized the story, talk shows dissected it, and for the public, it reinforced the belief that the adult world was a place of shadows, scandal, and exploitation. But beneath the headlines, it also raised important questions. Who bears responsibility when a performer lies about their age? Should studios be punished for failing to detect a forged ID? And what does justice look like when the entire system is implicated? It was chaos. These questions haunted the industry for decades. Even today, when you hear debates about performer protections, age verification online, or the role that such platforms have in adult content, you can trace the conversation right back to 1986. And nearly 40 years later, the Traci Lords scandal remains one of the most infamous chapters in entertainment history. It reshaped laws, it ended careers, and altered the trajectory of the adult business. And it's a reminder that the entertainment we consume doesn't exist in this bubble. Behind every headline, there are legal systems and real people affected. True crime stories often end with a solved case, a conviction, or closure. But this one ends differently because this one ends with reform. It forced the industry to change. And it ends with a legacy that continues to influence how we think about entertainment, consent, and responsibility. So what do I think? I think that what I've always believed to be true, that the bearing of responsibility begins at home. Mom and dad, with their child, should be the ones responsible for policing what they're watching, what they're getting their hands on, what they're doing. Now, no judgment. I'm not a parent myself, but as someone who was in the adult industry, never would I want my work to end up in the hands of anyone under the age of adult consent. Now, the thing is that what is adult? There's 50-year-olds who act like they're 12. There's 40-year-olds who act like they're 21, And the most one can do is worry about themselves. So I know that I was in the presence of an industry that took age verification very seriously. I wasn't able to step foot into the makeup chair until all of that was done. The responsibility of my health landed on me. So if I didn't go get tested and make sure I was completely clean, I wasn't able to work, which is why it's bizarre that so many people assuming porn stars being dirty, etc. is like, no, we have to get tested every 2 weeks. But then when the shift of the entertainment industry changed within the last 5 years, I noticed that the studios weren't doing these big blockbusters that I enjoyed being a part of. I am someone who enjoys a script. I enjoy being on set. I don't mind working for 30 hours. And when I noticed that was shifting, it was my time to evolve so that I can be more creative, etc., which is where I'm at now. I hope that Traci Lords found what she was looking for, because I know that researching this, I very much related to her, wanting to be part of the Hollywood lights and reinvent herself. And it hit home, and I was happy to be able to bring this out and sort of share it with you guys. There's a fine line between moral compass and policing of adult activities. If you're an adult of sound mind and, tax paying, etc., and you live in the USA, you have your rights. You have your rights to be entertained as you wish, within reason, obviously. And I've said that they really need to raise the adult age from 18 to 21, because the 18-year-old nowadays is not the same 18-year-old from even 10 years ago. So if I had anything to say with it, I would 100% say adult, 21 and over. Some of the things that mattered to me 10 years ago just don't matter anymore. And that just happens with experience. But I'm glad I went through it. I'm glad, and I hope that I was able to leave a little bit of a legacy myself. Well, that's it, you guys. Thank you so much for listening to this special episode of Bridgette Unfiltered. The Traci Lords scandal wasn't just a moment of shock. It was a turning point, and it's proof that one case, one person, one scandal can ripple across culture, politics, and business, leaving footprints that we still see today. If you found this story thought-provoking, consider subscribing, leaving a review, and sharing this episode with a friend. It's an exciting time for Bridgette Unfiltered. Can't wait to share with you all the good stuff that's happening, and it's all because of you guys. So until next time.